A Consumer's Report by an Australian poet, Peter Porter, published in the 1970 collection The Last of England. This dramatic monologue is a satirical parody from the first-person perspective of an unknown speaker as a dissatisfied buyer conversing with a retailer about the consumerism of life. The conversational poem is a free verse with no regular rhyme scheme. The first 3 verses are like a prologue of the review, while the second stanza consists of the speaker's feedback in response to a marketing survey. Don't forget to subscribe. A Consumer's Report begins with the speaker pretending that life is a product, like something you buy from a store, and he's filling out a sort of customer feedback form about it. He says he's tested this product, and now he's giving his honest review, but he also notes that his answers will stay private. It's not clear who sent him the form, maybe a company, or maybe something more abstract like the universe or God, but it doesn't really matter. The poem is basically a big metaphor. Life is treated like a consumer product, and the speaker is the customer. By using this setup, the poet is poking fun at how modern capitalist societies tend to treat everything, even deep, meaningful experiences, as if they were products to be bought, used, and reviewed. And poetry, in this case, is the form he uses to give his product review of life. The speaker talks more about what it was like to use the product. He says life was given to him for free, like a sample from the manufacturer, maybe referring to God, nature, or society. He expected it to be exciting or emotionally fulfilling, but it didn't really hit him that way. Life kind of left him feeling numb or distant, like he was going through the motions instead of actually enjoying it. He might have tried to protect himself from life's pain by staying emotionally detached, but in doing that, he also missed out on the joys. It's like he was so busy surviving that he forgot to really live. He compares life to a skincare cream. At first, it seems gentle, but over time it leaves behind residue, embarrassing memories, or emotional baggage. He's reflecting on how people start off soft and kind but often harden as they face difficulties. He also says life is expensive, not in a literal sense, but in terms of energy, effort, and emotional cost. He thinks maybe he's halfway through life, but he can't be sure. And like with any addictive product, the more you use it, the harder it is to stop. So even though he's spent so much already, maybe working hard, chasing comfort, he still feels unsure if he's made good use of it. The poem goes on to talk about the instructions that came with the product. These are like the rules and advice we get growing up from parents, teachers, religion, and society on how to live life properly. But the speaker says all these instructions are confusing and sometimes contradict each other. Instead of helping, they've just left him unsure of how to live a meaningful life. He even wonders if life is safe for children, maybe hinting at how cruel and toxic the world can be. His tone is cynical, suggesting that bringing children into the world might not be the best idea. Then he brings in a friend's opinion, that life only exists to keep its creator busy. It's a cynical thought that maybe life is just a way for God not to be bored. The speaker also complains about how costly life is, emotionally, physically, and mentally. He's surrounded by it, but he starts to question whether it's even necessary. After all, the world existed long before humans, and it might have been better off without us. This touches on environmental issues, overpopulation, and the way humans damage the planet. He wonders why human life had to be introduced into the world at all. Was it really needed? The speaker is basically saying, hey, the world managed just fine without human life for millions of years, so don't act like we have to use it. He's kind of fed up with how life has turned out, especially the sad memories that keep piling up. Then, he makes a sarcastic comment about being called the respondent, like someone casually answering a survey. He doesn't like it, because he's not just filling out a form but he's living this life, in all its messiness and depth. He also talks about how confusing life is. The product comes with different labels, sizes, colors, and it's not consistent, and it doesn't always make sense. Even the container, which is a metaphor for the human body, is awkward. It can hold water, like how our bodies are mostly water, but it can't handle heat, maybe meaning stress, emotion, or literal heat. Our bodies are fragile, hard to maintain, and not built to last, yet you can't just throw them away. Then he makes this connection to how people are labeled too, by their jobs, personalities, religions, races. Everyone's body is different, and though we're kind of waterproof, we can't handle life's heat. He even points out how death is certain, but trying to end life early isn't easy either. And he brings in a social commentary. In poorer countries, people often have more children, not always by choice, and without proper healthcare, those lives can be fragile. Sometimes babies are born even when no one is really ready for them. It's like life gets delivered whether you order it or not. After going through all of this, the speaker admits something kind of unexpected: life is actually really popular. Even with all the struggles and disappointments, most people still seem to love it. He thinks it's funny how people treasure life so much even when, in his opinion, it's maybe not that special. He even jokes that we should just take life for granted, like it only exists to keep its creator busy. He sees life as overrated because the fact that we're all going to die makes everything feel kind of pointless. Still, he advises people to stop stressing about life and just enjoy the little things. Don't listen too much to the so-called experts, the philosophers, historians, and other people who try to explain or sell life to us. Everyone has an opinion, but in the end, it's your life and you have to live it your way. Even when people have next to nothing, they still choose to have kids and keep going. So maybe, deep down, everyone sees something worthwhile in life, enough to keep passing it on. The poet ends the poem by saying, "I don't care what the experts say as I'm the one living this life, so I'll decide what it's worth." He believes the power should be with the people, the consumers of life, because we're the ones who actually use it. He says he's willing to buy life, meaning he accepts it, despite its flaws. He'll call it a good deal only if the manufacturer sends him the alternative product he was promised. And by that, he's talking about the afterlife. It's kind of a cheeky way of saying, sure, I'll commit to life, but I want to see what the afterlife is like before I say this was the best choice. So he ends on this mix of acceptance, skepticism, and dry humor. He's lived life, he sees its value, but he's not ready to call it the best buy until he's had a look at what comes next. A Consumer's Report takes a serious, philosophical subject, life itself, and treats it like it's a consumer product, like a toaster or a phone someone's reviewing online. The speaker, or consumer, has tested out the product, and he's not too impressed. He admits in the end that he would still buy it, but the tone the whole way through is skeptical, jaded, and full of complaints. It's funny in a dry, ironic way, but also a bit sad underneath. The speaker complains that life isn't very exciting, doesn't last, and is hard to get rid of, meaning death is inevitable, but escape isn't easy either. He's basically expressing existential frustration, that deep feeling of what's the point, that comes with being alive and not knowing why. But instead of using grand, dramatic language, the speaker uses the voice of a bored customer filing a product review. The poem mocks not just life's flaws, but also the way modern society reduces everything, even our biggest questions, to consumer experiences. It plays with the idea that life is being marketed to us, and we're just passive buyers trying to figure out if it's worth the price. Underneath all the humor, there's real philosophical pessimism. The speaker says things like they didn't feel much while using it and that the price is much too high, which on the surface sounds like a bland review, but actually hints at emotional numbness. The emotional cost of suffering and how heavy life can feel. He says the shape is awkward, which sounds funny, but again is probably about the human body, or how life just never fits neatly into expectations. He also touches on other big concerns, like life's purpose, whether it's suitable for children, maybe referring to how unfair or unsafe life can be for the vulnerable, and whether it lives up to the hype. All of these are common existential or philosophical critiques, that life feels random, unjust, and overrated. The only things the speaker says positively are that life seemed gentle at first and that it's popular. He's disillusioned but seems to take some pride in being able to critique life. Instead of just accepting life blindly, he engages with it. He tests it, pushes its limits, complains about it, kind of like what art and literature do in general. At one point, the speaker dismisses philosophers, historians, and other experts, saying that the real power lies with the people who are actually living life, the consumers. It's like the speaker is reclaiming ownership over his experience, even if it's flawed. He says we are the consumers and the last lawmakers, which means we decide what meaning life has, not someone in a textbook or a lecture hall. But despite all his bitterness, he still buys life in the end. He accepts it, even if it's far from perfect. What he doesn't do is call it a best buy, he's holding out to see what the competitive product is, which is obviously a tongue-in-cheek reference to the afterlife or maybe just death. So even while he chooses life, there's this lingering hope, or maybe just curiosity, that something better might exist. The poem suggests that we've gotten so used to reviewing, rating, and consuming things that we now look at life itself that way. It's a biting critique of how capitalism turns everything, including our feelings, our time, our identities, into something to be bought, sold, and judged. There's also a sense of how this culture desensitizes us. The speaker says he didn't feel much while using it, which reflects how overstimulation, constant craving for more, and endless choices can make even profound things feel empty. Life isn't exciting anymore because the consumer mindset always asks, "What's next? Is there a better version? Can I get more?" It shows how our modern, consumer-driven culture can make even the miracle of being alive feel like a disappointing product. Yet ironically, we still cling to it, still hope there's more, and still want to believe it might be worth something in the end. Hope you like and subscribe.